Now, do you long for the return of the mother-in-law joke? The Randy Milkman, the secretary in a short skirt bending over the filing cabinet. Well, you might want to have a word with our guest this week. He killed them off, he helped replace them, he became and he remains a legend in British comedy. Alexei Sayle.
Yeah, a lot's changed since I invented alternative comedy. Since I moved to London in 1971, I have always cycled. This was at a time when you were considered lower than a tramp or a conservative if you rode a bike. It meant I could get around for free, and when I left college, I was able to time to the second how late I wanted to be for the various part-time jobs that I had. Now cycling is a huge consumer industry, but back then, apart from your bike and some clothes made out of wool, there was nothing to buy. For instance, there was only one cycling book on the market called Richard's Bicycle Book. This contained some practical stuff relating to fixing punctures and tightening your brakes, but the largest section concerned the best way to kill dogs. Here is an extract.
If the dog attacks, a water pistol loaded with a water ammonia solution will work. If you don't have this and can't or won't climb a tree, get a stick or a large rock. Any small dog can simply be hoisted up by the legs and his brains dashed out. With a big dog, you are fighting for your life. If you are weaponless, try to tangle him up in your bike and then strangle him. Or if worst comes to worst, ram your entire arm down his throat. He will choke and die. Better your arm than your throat.
I don't know where he lived. Later on, the bicycle played an important part in the birth of alternative comedy. The original Comedy Store didn't finish before 2 a.m, which gave both the audience and the performers problems. Back then, the tubes stopped at 9:30, and there were only about 2 night buses, one that went somewhere like Walthamstow Dog Track, and the other that terminated in an industrial estate in Walthamstow. So you would either have to take a taxi or walk. A few of the audience drove into the West End. One advantage of driving into town was that you could still park more or less anywhere you wanted after nightfall in central London, though there was a fair chance when you got back to your car it would be on fire. Set on fire by mime artists, usually. So quite a few of the performers cycled after the show. Tired and sweaty, I would collect my bike from where it was chained and cycle the 3 miles home to my council tower block in Fulham. I was young then, but I have to say that cycling home in the early morning after you've had a couple of drinks is the closest thing to flying. These days, I'm at an age when I need to exercise to remain fit. And the way I do it is through cycling. Was that laughter? Oh, you're very hateful, are you? You're mocking me because of me fatness. These days, I'm at an age when I need to exercise to remain fit, all right? And the way I do it, remain in this incredible condition, is through cycling. You've probably heard of mammals, which is middle-aged men in lycra. Well, I'm a puffin, a pathetic fat in nappies. When I say nappies, what I'm referring to is the huge wadges of foam that us fat cyclists are forced to wear between our legs to stop the razor-thin saddles we ride on, causing terrible damage to our internal organs. I do have a fairly fancy bike, but I don't go in for all the high-end equipment. Bear in mind, though, that a Tour de France cyclist needs to consume 8,000 calories a day, and I do that. One of the ways you connect with people on a bike is that they literally run into you. Recently, I was knocked off my bike by a taxi turning left across my path without indicating. I don't blame the driver, though, because everybody knows that the indicator switch in a black cab is located in the boot. Which is a terrible design flaw. The columnist Paul Johnson has a theory that Ken Livingstone, when he was Mayor of London, realised that the middle classes had begun cycling and so introduced the bendy bus to the city's streets, specifically to kill them. In the past few years, that job seems to be taken over by tipper trucks. 2 weeks ago, a 26-year-old female graduate was knocked down and killed by a tipper truck. She was the 8th cyclist to be killed on London's roads this year. Not to mention the 46 people killed nationally. Of those 8, 6 were women, all of whom died after a collision with a lorry. In fact, every woman who had died on a bike in the capital since August 2011 was hit by a truck, 16 in total. Now, the fault for these deaths generally lies with the tipper truck drivers. For example, the aptly named Dennis Putz, who had a series of criminal convictions for offences including drink driving and had been caught 20 times driving an HGV while disqualified, and who killed a woman while talking on his phone. Or Barry Meyer. It's good when you come into the end of your routine to just have like a long bit about deaths and stuff. That's what all the old-timers used to do, you know. People like Bob Monkhouse, he used to do a bit about the genocide of the Armenians. Or Barry Meyer, who had many previous driving convictions, including drink driving and driving while uninsured and disqualified, who crushed 54-year-old Alan Neve. So I'd like to make a plea for understanding between cyclists and tipper truck drivers. One of the heartbreaking things about these deaths is what good people the cyclists were: charity fundraisers, research scientists, student fashion designers. So truck drivers, if you see a cyclist ahead, they could be a nurse, a yoga teacher, or a comedian trying to get their career back on track by appearing on the radio and largely failing. In other words, they're better than you. Thank you.